wrapped up in my sleeping bag, looking out the window at Aaron's house as the sun is beginning to creep over the horizon. And the trees are silhouetted black against the emerging blue sky with the fading stars up in the sky. And I think to myself how much I hate Aaron because he's got it fucking made with this fantastic house of his, this nice little piece of property tucked away out in the backwoods of South Dakota. God, I fucking hate him. I hope he dies. I hope he dies of syphilis. You piece of shit.
All right, let me give you the backdrop because I appreciate this man's hustle, sincerely. So, I don't know, a month or two ago, the pearl-clutching fake Christian women of the world, oh my God, men want sex and prawn addiction, and oh my God. And I said unto the masses, I said, well, maybe if Christian women lost weight and fucked their husbands more, men would be less addicted to the prawn. This, thou shalt not lie, right? I don't know why there would be. Oh, yeah, you're right. That's empirical. Well, it got a big backlash, which then led to me writing this. I don't want a threesome with Jesus, which I published, I don't know, came out a week ago or so. I haven't really done much promotion because I've been dealing with irrigation system and wanting to live life and hike and all that. And I had to go shoot guns with this cool guy. There were obligations. And then while I was tweeting it out, it coincidentally was published the day before Sarah Stock and Elijah, whatever the other guy's name was, that drama unfold. And oh man, roll, you got to tweet out this is strike while the iron's hot. So I did that. And in the Twitter sphere, posted it, a guy named Giff Lasta responded or tweeted, said, hey, if I review this book, will you review mine? And game recognizes game. I said, well played, sir, well played. And here's the other thing where you got to respect the guy right off the bat. It's barter. Do you want to engage in a mutually beneficial arrangement? Hey, you got it. I got this. We can help each other out. Absolutely. Absolutely. I said, yeah, follow me. So Giff followed me on Twitter. And here's another thing I got to hand him credit to. So if you want someone to review your book, you got to make it so that it's easier for them to review the book, which is where I don't really push people say, hey, do you want to review my book until I have the audio version? And I said, yeah, I'll review it. Do you have your book an audio version? He's just sent me a link that was gifted. Like, here you go, free gift on Amazon or Audible, which you can do. I don't even have my book in Audible yet. And he went out and bought it without me having to. This guy knows what he's doing. So I appreciate the professionalism. We haven't talked about the book, but it's just like this guy knows what he's doing. I wish people were like this guy. Just trying to get ahead of Terrence Pop, and I love him like a brother, but you got to contact Blake before you get to get Terrence. Yeah, money. Over here, Terrence. Money. The green stuff. Yes. So his book is called The Way of Men with Maids, Forgotten Christian Wisdom for Becoming a Man Who Wins at Love. It's a lengthy title. And let me pull up my notes here because I was taking notes while I went through it. And so let me tell you what it's about. So, there. Basically, it's an instructional, a much needed instructional for young Christian men, though not solely Christian men, teenage Christian men, boys, on how to handle and navigate the world of women and courtship and love and sex and lust according to biblical principles. It is also secondarily a like a workbook guide. I want to say Bible study because it's not Bible study. He cites the Bible a lot, but there's the chapter and then there's the practicum. So I don't know what that exactly is called, but it's like a workbook as well. And also, Giff is very participating in the church. I don't know his entire resume, but he's active in the church. He belongs to several groups. They do Bible study, and he and some other Christian men, they got this book, this workbook, and then there's other courses online. So this is part of that, but I like how it's not just this little short essay, which would still be good unto itself, but Do A, B, C, and D. How does this make you feel? So it is designed probably for, I'd imagine, men's groups within Christianity, which would be perfectly fit for. Actually, I should send this to my old man. Although it's all old men and they're probably not getting laid anyway. No. They're all over 70. I mean, maybe, I don't know if there's a young men's guide. So that's what it is. And there's what, about 6 chapters or so. And it's courtship, controlling lust, controlling, and the word is called sublimating. That's the psychological word, is where you take energy that could be bad and you channel it into good. Like I took anger and rage. that's 90% of the fuel that got me to where I am today. But you take those bad things and you take the energy, you make good things out of them. And so he's, take your sex drive, and it's not just for sex, it's for other things. And then the last one is overcoming a prawn addiction, which I'll kind of get to a little bit later. So that's kind of the general layout, but it's good. It's very well organized, very well written. Boom, ba boom, ba boom, ba boom. It's not long, it's not lengthy. I like punchy, short, succinct, essay length type of deals. So that's what it is. So of the things I like about the book, and I have to put myself in the mind, I'm not a Christian. If I were a Christian, because that's the audience, how good would this book be? So I got to kind of set my who I am aside and realize I'm not necessarily the audience for it. But first, I think this is the perfect companion to my book, because right off the bat, you see blasphemy, or I don't know, what is it? Taking the Lord's face in vain. I don't know. I'm not a Christian. I wrote this from a secular guy's perspective because I got sick and tired of seeing Christian men getting fucked over by people in the church who weren't Christian, namely women who weren't going to have sex. Now, that is a very blunt, direct, non-Christian view. It's very practical, very secular. But I've seen enough, man. I've seen enough. And it's like the kid who's genuinely mentally retarded or perhaps physically disabled, and all the bullies are beating up on him. That's how I view most Christian men in America today. You are just getting the shit kicked out of you by a group of people and you don't know it. And you think you've done something wrong. So that's in this book. But obviously, I'm not a theologian. I'm not a pastor. I didn't go to divinity school. My knowledge of the Bible is somewhat limited. And that it was purely an outsider's take, saying, hey, here are the rules in your rule book, but here's what's happened secularly. You guys are blind to it. Here are all the people that are fucking manipulating you and taking advantage of you. His book goes into great detail about the biblical arguments and rationalizations and reasoning for the points that I was making in mind. Now, the two are not perfectly congruent. His is obviously tailored more towards preparing. This is the conversation Christian men should have had with their Christian boys, but most Christian men are, sorry, I got to say it, Giff, most Christian men are pussies, and you're afraid of your wives. You're afraid of your wives more than you are your God. So that's why I know, but that's all right. No baby boomers or Gen X parents or dads are telling their sons anything. So he provides you the biblical reasons, rationales, answers, rules as to what does God say about how you should govern relationships and all that. So I did consult theologians and pastors, and I wrote it in the Bible and all that. I'm sure there's plenty to critique from many different angles because every different denomination and sect has that. Here's a guy well-versed in Christianity. He's practicing, he's working with young men. So I really think the two would go together very well, especially if you're a sincere Christian. Mine is more your crass uncle who isn't Christian telling you, hey, dumbass, make your way into the gym. And here's the biblical reason why. So if you really want a lot of the biblical rules and rationalizations, absolutely get his book. He does know the Bible. He's quoting it left and right. I wanted to avoid what I call Christian ping pong, where I quote one verse and you quote another, and I quote another and you quote another, and there's no thinking. He quotes the Bible and then provides thought and interpretation into it. So that's another thing that I like about that. His references and interpretations of the Bible are thorough, many, comprehensive. His chapter on leadership, which one of the weaknesses is and he admits it. It's like he does. He's 100% right on how leadership works, both secular and religious. Doesn't matter. Same thing. It just happened to be some Bible quotes for the Christians. And the dynamic is so much more complex than you would think, and the reasons why, and women want to be safe and they're afraid of danger and testing and shit tests and all this. He does it. It's an entire chapter, but he admits like this is going to be a lot for a 15-year-old because they don't even, they don't know. They don't know. I remember when I was 15, I like girls. I think I'll write this girl a poem or get her some flowers. I'll be nice to her. That's you got to consider your audience. But he's not wrong. And coincidentally, him and his wife did some ballroom dancing. And the instructor he had says, men lead, women follow. And I had a similar such intro thing to my first night of dance class because I used to teach ballroom dance. I was like, look, there can only be one lead, one follow. I used electricity as my analogy. You need a positive and a negative. That doesn't mean positive is better. It's just physics. Because if you both lead, it ain't going to work. That's too positive. If you both follow, that's two negatives. It ain't going to work. You need positive and negative to have a current. You have distinct jobs, equally important. And I had to beat it into the women. The second you try to help him, it's over because you're not following, you're leading. That's not your job. My dance class was, shut the fuck up and do what you're told, bitch. No, that's not what it was. But almost. There were times like, I'm like, what are you doing? I was like, well, he's in the middle of dancing, lady, and you're talking and yapping at. I mean, I wish I didn't realize how much I was seeing empirically about marriages at that point in time. But he nails it. He nails it. Captain and first officer, ballroom dancing, all these dynamics interlaced with biblical references and instructions and dictates. It's like, yep, that's how leadership works. So that's a very good article. That's a very good chapter, but it's going to take 10 years, serious dating, couple serious girlfriends for these Christian men to get that. So there's that. There's applications to the secular world as well. I would read whatever, Rational Male, Donovan Sharp stuff, Troy Francis, because there's a lot of Christian stuff here too. So it's not to say that he's wrong. He's not. And there is secular application, but half of it's going to be Christian stuff. I think you can get it more quickly. But if you want just a quick lesson in leadership, this is probably one of the best written chapters I've seen on leadership between men and women out there. I do like another full chapter about, okay, you got all this sexual energy. What are you supposed to do with it in accordance with the Bible? Well, don't just let it sit there and suffer you. Go and do something with it. And he does. He channels it. He sublimates it into productive means and measures. And when you do productive things, all of a sudden the girls see him. There's the cowboy who's wrangling the pony or the Mustang. And then there's the guy, oh, Thelma Lou, you sure are pretty. One is channeling his sexual energy. The other one is chasing after the girl. So that is, and you Christians can't have sex until you're married. So good luck with that. You better learn sublimation. You better learn to channel that into productive things. Otherwise, you're going to be freaking miserable. He also debunks the lie, where ulteriorly motivated fake Christians who hate sex love misquoting the Bible about lust and sex. They love conflating sex with lust. And he doesn't deny that there isn't such a thing as lust, and that if it becomes an idol or supplants God and all that, that's bad. He doesn't do that. But I had to listen a couple times, and I'm not familiar with the Bible again as much as would be required. I'm like, okay. It got a little wooey, woo. But I had to remember, okay, this is Christian interpretation. He's quoting the Bible, and he does a real. If you're a sincere Christian, mine was much more simple. I'm like, no, lust is fine as long as you don't have any gods before him, I don't know how the fuck else you're supposed to fall in love. I still stand by the foundation of all good, loving, healthy, sexually romantic relationships is lust. You need to want to fuck one another. Right? Can't be the number one thing, but that's critical. That's got to be there. But when it becomes an obsession, or you're obviously lusting after somebody else's wife, that's where it becomes bad. But then he goes into managing lust within your own marriage. The gal you're married to, and he provides a real good biblical explanation of all the quotes about lust and how it is misconstrued and how you're supposed to think about it and control it within your own life. Again, not my cup of tea. I'm like, get your ass in the French maid outfit and make me some cookies. His is more biblically. This is for Christians. Mine is for Christians, but mine's a little bit more like, yeah, I know they said that, but I'd bend this rule this one time. And finally, he claims that he was a prawn addict, and he went through how he got through it. I think the prawn addiction thing is. I'm not saying it doesn't exist. It doesn't happen. I think it's a little bit overblown. He is, however, he's about older millennial, right? Right, Giff? You're about older, late 30s, I'd imagine. So they had internet prawn when they were kids or adolescents or whatever. So that, I guess, I really don't like the word addiction. Like, you're not doing anything else. Like, your life is falling apart in other ways. And I believe, probably he did have an addiction. But what percent of millennial, how wide of a measure are you going to claim to have? That's an addiction. And then also how much of it, well, no, that was just the backdrop, man. Like they're shirtless in topless beaches for women in Europe are like, oh, that's just what it is. Like, it's backdrop. So how much of it is an actual addiction versus, well, yeah, we just grew up with it, but it became ubiquitous and we don't think much about it. So I'm a little reluctant to use that word, but I believe him when he says, yes, he was addicted, and he went and talked to a therapist and took the measures, and he outlines the process he went to become unaddicted. Everything he did, well, maybe not everything, but I'm like, in the context of this book, he went through, okay, and here's because anyone born, whatever, after 1996, yeah, there it is. All the women in the world you want to see. So I don't know how much of that is going to be, well, it's just in the background. We didn't think about it versus it was in the background, but then you got nothing else to do. I think it was Karoy. I don't mean to misquote you, Karoy. One of Turd Flinging Monkey's guys was like rubbing one out 3 to 5 times a day. I'm like, holy shit. Like, that's an addiction. That's taken away from things, man. Or like, you're not just rubbing one out to scratch the itch. You're like looking at it for hours on end. Like, you got stuff to do, man. But he goes through it. He goes through the process by which he became unaddicted and repentance and all that other stuff, and helped out with his marriage. So there's a very practical subchapter in one of the last chapters of the book. So I think it addresses every major and even moderate issue Christian men are facing, a lot of secular people are facing, in the confines within the guidelines of Christianity. To the left following it. Of course, somebody is going to take issue with something in his book, right? They go, hey, I kind of look, someone's going to play Christian ping pong with this guy. I'm like, look, this guy just did an honest effort. I don't even know his denomination. I don't know which church he goes to, but he's honest. This is an honest go at it. And so I'll trust this guy before I trust some oh my God, Jesus, girl boss influencer on the interpretations. What I don't like about the book, there's not that much. For me personally, it's too Paul Bowery. If you guys know my colleague Paul Bauer, I like Paul. And it's not even that he writes bad books, he doesn't. But Paul and Giff also, I just can't, guys. I can't do I do my daily affirmations. I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and by golly, people like me. I'm like, oh. and that you should journal. I'm like, men don't journal. You go punch a tree. Okay? You don't. And how much of it is chakra crystal? Paul's, well, maybe Paul is religious. I don't know. But Paul is the chakra crystal, smell badger farts. Let's go have a Reiki center in Sedona and then go to Telluride. And then we'll have an East Indian guy have a smell his armpit and drink his sweat. That's what Paul Bauer is into. He's kind of that kind of, what's your astrology sign? Whereas Giff, I think his wooey, wooey, wowie woo-ness is not chakra crystals and smelling badger farts or whatever they do in Sedona. I think Giff is more, it's religion based, which is wooey, wowie woo in my secular agnostic world. That's another one. That's like, I didn't like it. I'm more like, what's wrong with the engine? The alternators that replace it. Unfortunately, humans, including religious people, are not exactly machines that they got all these extra rules and what does God say and the interpretations. And I'm like, lose the fucking weight, then your wife will sleep with you again. I'm a little bit more direct, but because Christians have to follow the other set of Christian rules, yes, this is very, very practical. I still don't think Christian men need to journal. I still don't think you need to have daily affirmations, but it's up to you. So there's that. And the other thing that I did not like about the book is that there is no requiring, or let alone listing of women's responsibilities. There's a little bit, but there's no listing of women's responsibilities. It is all for men. Now, a lot of that is practically, stoically, and intelligently so, because this is a book for men, and it's always focused on what can a man do, what is within a man's code. Now, maybe Giff didn't mean to write it in terms of a very stoic, it's not necessarily wise, but lack of a better word, a very stoic, wise way of saying, hey, this is all you men control, right? We're going to focus on what you can do. But whereas opposed to my book, there's a huge threat. A good quarter of the book, I'd say, maybe a third, is warning men about female nature, fraudulent Christian women posing in the church, which probably would go beyond the scope that he wanted to in his book. So it almost solely focuses on men and what they can do, which is all men can do. You don't control what women do. But I would have liked to see a little bit of warning, or look, if you're going to do this, here's how it. Now, in fairness, he does address it a little bit in the dancing analogy and leadership and how they should fall into his frame and all that. And perhaps you want to keep it on a positive note because these poor boys already got it's enough on the plate with the book that he's written that they got to digest this and apply it. Then to introduce, some of these gals are fake Christians and they're liars. Maybe that's a secondary book. But that was I don't want to go on a screed against fake women and frauds and born again Christian girls. And, what was it? Rollo, Christianity is where prostitutes or whores go to retire or whatever. I forget the exact quote. I don't think, if I look back at it, if this is for a 15-year-old boy, we probably don't need to introduce that right there. But it's an exposed flank. But perhaps outside of the domain of this essay. But otherwise, that's about it. Those are the only real two critiques of the book, admittedly, because I'm not Christian. However, I would absolutely recommend this book for all Christian men, because it provides what I couldn't, an intricate knowledge of the Bible, applying it to the sexes and relationships within Christian relationships. Mine, again, practical. I had outsourced. Like, okay, what does the Bible say? What do you guys think? I would say I outsourced wholly. I mean, I know some stuff. I mean, I did go to parochial school for 7 years. I can read the Bible too. So mine was more of a, I don't want to say superficial, but It was a practical take, I guess, a practical analysis, not a deep dive into it. This is the deep dive that my book doesn't provide. I would say the two should actually be read in conjunction with each other. Which one first? I would say it depends on your age. If you're a younger man, like, teen up to 25, 23 maybe, I would definitely read Giff's book first. It's more theory and concept applied to younger men or teenage boys. Mine assumes you're already pissed off and a veteran and angry and misanthropic. And you're a goody two-shoes Christian man who's been divorced twice and you don't know why. So if you're 25 and older, then I'd read my book because you're probably you've been out there a little bit. And then I'd switch, right? So if you're older, read mine, I Don't Want a Threesome with Jesus. It's a little bit more practical and explain everything that's happened to you in the secular and Christian world. Then I'd read Giff's book if you're looking for the Christian application of not only what he advocates in his book, but mine. And these are essays, by the way. They're not 400 pages. If you're a younger man, definitely read Giff's first. Go through that. And then I'd even say maybe date a little bit. And then when you get a little bit older, you get a little bit of experience. Why ain't shit adding up? I practiced the wooey wooey wowie woo bullshit. What's going on? Why aren't the girls showing up on dates? Then you get this one. Then you find out you're not actually dealing with Christian women. You're dealing with women who are just in a church and faking and falsely claiming to be a Christian. And they're actually secular girls who are using Christianity to manipulate you. So this is a little bit more glass half empty. It's not half empty. It's filled with cyanide. All right. So that's it. I have linked to Giff's book below. Take a look at it if you will. Drew, $5. I was just told by my dentist that they have been bought out by private equity and that the location I walk to for appointments is shutting down. Oh, yeah, you have to find another one. Yep. And don't go to that dentist. Don't go to that. I mean, if you have a dentist you know personally, like, here's the deal. I want cleanings for this amount. If you guys are going to charge more and give me bullshit shit that I don't need, nope. I do not go to a private equity dentist. Go down to the ones down in Mexico if you have to. Have a nice winter vacation down by not Alamogordo. Andrade? Is that the name of the town? What's the town across from Andrade? Yuma? Go down there. Get your cleanings done down there. Shit, I may just go ride my motorcycle down there and get a cleaning. All right, there you guys go. I don't have mine linked, but if you go look at I Don't Want a Threesome with Jesus, it's the only book by that name. I'll see you guys later. Toodles.